Hello, dear fans, friends, and subscribers. Welcome to the Cricket Happening Show. This with your host Ram on a Friday. Well, on, I'm sorry. On this cricket show, uh, what we are going to look at is we had two T20 matches which were played. First was the match between South Africa versus New Zealand, and well, we all knew that there was a psychological pressure on New Zealand, on South Africa rather, but it was South Africa who came up the victors with a win by 78 runs, with Hashim Amla doing beautifully with the bat and Imran Tahir registering his best uh, analysis as far as T20 cricket is concerned, when he picked up a 5 wicket bag in T20 in his 4 overs, and he also got his 50th wicket in his 31st T20 match, which happened to be the second quickest to the landmark after the other bowler Ajanta Mendis of Sri Lanka, who had taken 26 T20s to get his 50th wicket. So that is pretty much the story of the day, but I'll be talking in greater detail as far as the match is concerned once we start kicking the cricket show here. Now, as far as the other match was concerned, there was the first T20 which was played between a second string Australian side versus Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka proved to be a bit more powerful than the Aussies, as they won the match by 5 wickets, but it was a very exciting match. It went down all the way to the last ball, where Chamara Kapigadra, seeing that Aaron Finch had actually got all the fielders into the ring, he actually drove the ball into the fence to clinch the victory. So that was another good match where Sri Lanka definitely, it was on tenter hooks. It could have been anyone's game, but then it was a very cool head, I would say. Especially coming in from Chamara Kapigadra and Milinda Srivardhana. Sorry, it was Chamara Kapigadra along with Sekuge Prasanna was there when the victory came, which I'll be talking about. And also the full strength Australian team is in India now, and the first tour match started between the Aussies and it was India A team. And Australia definitely did a good job. There were 2 centuries, one from Stephen Smith and one from Sean Marsh, as Australia closed the day at 327 for 5 against the India A at the Brabourne Stadium in this 3-day fixture. So that was something encouraging for the Aussies. But yes, now I'm going to start off by speaking about the T20 that New Zealand versus South Africa, which was played at the Eden Park in Auckland. Eden Park in Auckland, as I said, was never a happy memory as far as South Africa were concerned, as they were kicked out of the World Cup, as you know, with that a very good smack by Grant Elliott, who has now retired, and it was hit of Dale Steyn. So anyways, so this was the match which was played at the Eden Park in Auckland. The toss was won by New Zealand, and they decided to insert the South Africans in. Initially, we saw the bowling was up to the mark, especially Trent Boult. He was bowling marvelously. In fact, his 4 overs cost him only 8 runs, and he picked up 2 wickets. And it all started with Quinton de Kock, the first victim, as he got him caught by Santner for a duck. So that was a big wicket. But Hashim Amla was careening along in a nice innings that he was playing, as he was timing the ball from the sweetest part of the bat, and the runs were coming in very well, and du Plessis came in and started giving him the much needed company, and then finally du Plessis was a victim of the bowling of D. Granholm for 36 of 25 balls with 1 4 and 3 sixes. So du Plessis really started going after Mitchell Santner to spoil his figures, as he rammed him for sixes. Mitchell Santner's bowling figures were actually damaged there, and du Plessis contributed well. But Hashim Amla, on the other hand, was doing a fine job. As I said, he was stroking the ball as sweetly as Amla can, as things were really running away. But Trent Bolt, even in that stage, was a man who was bowling absolutely up to the mark, which I'll talk about. So then De Villiers came in. De Villiers indulged in his usual style of play to make 26 of 17 deliveries, 3 fours and 1 6. Dumini was run out on 29 of 16. He also smacked a few of 16 balls, 2 fours and 2 sixes. But Hashim Amla's innings was, as I said, an careening innings of 62 of just 43 deliveries, 9 fours and 1 6. Bahadin was out for 8, and finally Morris not out 9, Parnell not out 4, and South Africa put on 185 for 6 on the board of their 20 overs. Trent Bolt, as I said, was superb. I mean, to bowl 4 overs, no maiden, 2 for 8 in a T20 match in his full quota was something simply superb. He was really making the batsmen search for the ball. Ben Wheeler, 4 overs, 1 for 49. Southey went for 47 of his 4. Mitchell Santner got a bit of smacking, 4 overs, none for 40. Granholm did a good job, 3 overs, 2 for 22. And Munro bowled 1 over for 11. As far as New Zealand were concerned, they were given a target of 186, so it was a very good score under the circumstances, but probably New Zealand would have thought that, they would have fancied the chances with short boundaries, but and they had the new bloke, 20 years old bloke who has already been talked about as probably a young Brendan McCullum. His name is Glenn Phillips, who has done very well in the Super Smash tournament, but probably he was going through signs of nerves as he was playing and missing a lot of times, and he was also learning that international cricket was an absolutely a different ball game, and Morris was completely in his element. He was really pitching the ball in the right areas, and he was making the ball talk. And then finally Glenn Phillips on his T20 debut, trying to slash at the delivery from Morris, probably getting frustrated. As I said, there were absolute signs of nerves when Glenn Phillips was playing. As an youngster, he's just 20 years of age, and Glenn Phillips finally decided to slash one, and it ended up in the hands of Quinton de Kock behind the stumps of Morris. He was gone for 5 of 11 deliveries, so Glenn Phillips' debut was not a good one. He was gone for 5, and then it was Morris not only picking up Glenn Phillips, but Colin Munro was really guilty of the very first ball that he received after Glenn Phillips' dismissal. Was a very silly shot to play. He went for a wild swipe at the bowling of Morris, and Morris actually castled him. And Morris, that particular over was a double wicket maiden over, which reduced the New Zealanders to 10 for 2. And what a silly shot from Colin Munro. Kane Williamson had made 13, but Andy Feliciano, the other bowler, was absolutely on the mark. He was also doing a good job, and he forced Kane Williamson to hold out to Parnell for 13 of as many balls, 2 fours. And then Tom Bruce took up the gauntlet, one could say, because the wickets were falling and the Kiwis were struggling. And then it took Tom Bruce, really took up the gauntlet as he smited some sixes. He went after the bowlers and smited them for some sixes and some very good boundaries, as he was the highest scorer, in fact, in that New Zealand score of 107, as Bruce contributed 33 of 27 balls with 3 fours and 2 sixes and entered the match. And after that, we saw Anderson being knocked off by Feliciano as he was caught behind for 6 of 10 deliveries. And after that, it was Imran Tahir who took over. Tom Bruce, who was slowly getting in, one could say, he was clean bowled by Imran Tahir for 33 of 27 deliveries with 3 fours and 2 sixes. And then Colin de Granholm was a victim, 15 of 7 balls. It was very difficult to really fathom as to what Imran Tahir was bowling. The frustration was growing. Luke Ronchi was dismissed for a duck by Imran Tahir, caught behind. And then Filikawayo dismissed the Mitchell Santner, who had a bad game with the bat and the ball, as he was gone for 5. And then it was only a matter of Imran Tahir cleaning up the tail. Ben Wheeler's bowled Imran Tahir for 6 of as many balls. Tim Saudi made 20, clubbing 3 sixes, but he was clean bowled by Imran Tahir. Bolt was not out on 1, and thus entered the game with the Kiwis being bowled out for 107, with Imran Tahir returning his best analysis in T20 cricket. And if to take 5 wickets in a T20 game in itself is a big achievement, and 3.5 overs, no maiden, 24 runs and 5 wickets, really derailing the New Zealand effort, as it was a good win for the Kiwis as they won the and this is only one T20 match that New Zealand or South Africa were supposed to play, so the honours went to the South Africans as they won by 78 runs. The bowling, Morris was absolutely on the mark. 3 overs and 2 for 10. Patterson 2 overs none for 13. Parnell 3 overs was clattered for 40. Filikawayo impressed with his bowling. 3 overs 3 for 19. But Imran Tahir was the one who took the cake, and he was named man of the match for his spin bowling exploits. 5 wickets for 24 runs, and that too the best analysis for Imran Tahir in T20s. And also, as I said, he also picked up 50 wickets in his 31st T20 match, which is the second fastest in T20 history. Well, now from here we shift to to Australia versus Sri Lanka, where this was the first of the 3 T20s. As you know, the Sri Lankans are on a whistle-stop tour of Australia, and it was this was the first game of the first T20 of the 3-match series, which was played at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, and there were a lot of debuts if you look at it. In fact, the T20 debuts we had from the Aussies had a lot of T20 debuts. Michael Klinger at the age of 36 getting his baggy green from Justin Langer. So M. Klinger, Billy Stanley and Alan Turner from Australia. They were all making their T20 debut. Bandara from Sri Lanka was the debutant, and looking at it, well, it all started with a very good crowd assembled in at the MCG, and Sri Lankans were the one who actually won the toss, and they decided to actually insert the opposition, that is Australia, to bat first. It all started, and it started off, and it was a huge roar when Michael Klinger walked out with the Aussie captain Aaron Finch. And Klinger, as I said, was making his T20 debut at the age of 36, and I have to say that Klinger looked very good in his knock. Aaron Finch was the one who was really taking them on, as Lasith Malinga was going for runs. Lasith Malinga and Kulashekara could not create any impression, as the Australian openers Finch and Klinger stuck on to them, and then we saw an enormous 6 hit by Finch. Probably this was the longest 6, and I'm told it went probably into the Richmond station, so it was such a huge hit by Aaron Finch. It really sailed all over the stadium, and it went out of the stadium, and it was a huge hit by Aaron Finch. And this is what Aaron Finch can do. On his day, Aaron Finch can be devastating. But Aaron Finch and Klinger then had put on a very good partnership. They put on 76 runs for the first wicket, and then finally it was Sandakan who picked up the wicket of Michael Klinger. Michael Klinger was dismissed for 38 of 32 deliveries with 4 fours. So Michael Klinger's debut knock of 38 in his T20. Again, impressive, as I said. And then we saw Aaron Finch being the next man to go. And Aaron Finch, it was very interesting. Gunaratne was the bowler, Asala Gunaratne, and he was bowling his first over. He got smacked for a 6 by Aaron Finch. But Aaron Finch, in another 2 balls' time, Gunaratne had his man, as it was Aaron Finch who holed out to Malinga, and Gunaratne made sure that he made his pleasure known to Finch, as he really pointed out towards Finch, I suppose. But anyway, that was Finch was gone for 43 or 34 deliveries, 2 fours and 2 sixes. And then we had contributions coming in from Travis Head. Travis Head contributed a bit of, I would say, did not hit a lot of boundaries, just hit 1-6, but contributed 31 of 25 balls, being a victim of the bowling of Lasith Malinga. Moises Henriquez's contribution was 17 of 10 deliveries with 1-6. Turner showed a bit of himself by contributing 18 of 13 deliveries, 1-4. Faulkner was not on 14 of 7 balls, 2 fours. Payne was run out for naught. Cummins run out naught. And the Australia posting 168 for 6 of their 20 overs. Malinga 2 for 29 of 4. Kulashekara wicketless for 38 of 4. Bandara was making his debut, 3 overs, cost him 35, picked up his maiden T20 wicket, that of Moises Henriquez. Sekunge Prasanna's 4 overs was a bit economical under the standards, 4 overs no made and none for 23. Sandakan 1 for 30. And Gunaratne just bowled 1 over for 11 runs and he picked up the most important wicket of Aaron Finch, who was looking dangerous. As far as Sri Lanka were concerned, they were given a target of 169 runs to make from 20 overs. And Dikwala and Taranga started. And it was good to see Dikwala, the very first ball that he received from Pat Cummins, probably coming at 145 clicks. He wanted to send Cummins out of the stadium. So, and Dikwala is an aggressive bat, and of late, as I said, his consistency has been very good. And but Cummins actually drew first blood pretty quickly for the Aussies, as Upal Taranga was caught behind the bowling of Cummins for naught. But Dikwala was joined in by Munawira, and Dikwala and Munawira, definitely Dikwala was showing that he's very good on the ram shot, and he was looking good as well. He actually clobbered 1-6 as well. So Niroshan Dikwala, and after that we saw that Cummins changed his line of attack to Dikwala, and Dikwala showed what a bold cricketer he is. And then we definitely saw that Cummins kept him a bit quiet. But then Stanley was making his debut. Munawira initially was a bit quiet, but then suddenly opened up in one particular over from Stanley to really scorch boundaries pretty quickly through the offside. He was giving him room outside his leg stump and carving the balls through the offside. He first straight drove him for a boundary, then actually hit him through the point region for a boundary, and then played a shot in the air but very safe into the boundary. And it was Munawira who suddenly started getting into a very quick fire mode, as his innings was also very vital. But then Zampa picked up the wicket of Niroshan Dikwala for 30 of 25 deliveries, 4 fours and 1-6. But Munawira was joined in by Asala Gunaratne. But at that was the time Munawira was also gone, as Zampa actually picked up his wicket, but not before Munawira played a very quick fire innings of 44 of just 29 deliveries, 6 fours in that knock, and he looked like a very bold cricketer, Dilshan Munawira. I mean, he was not afraid to really go after the bowlers, and that was really refreshing to see. Asala Gunaratne was joined in by Srivardhana, and that was the time at the halfway stage when Munawira was gone. The score read 91 for 3, so they still had some work to do. A lot of work, in fact. Almost 77 runs were still required in the next 10 overs, with Gunaratne and Srivardhana in the middle. But Gunaratne and Srivardhana kept a cool head. Srivardhana in particular really playing according to the needs of the game. And Gunaratne, as I said, and Russell Arnold did mention in the commentary box that Gunaratne is the find. There's no doubt about it. He has been he has been scoring with amazing consistency. And Gunaratne was showing how he can play, as he continued to haunt the Aussies with his nice stroke making, and he was looking good as well when things were going on. Now, this was the time when everything started in the 18th over. I mean, it was looking like things were looking under control for Sri Lanka, with Gunaratne and Srivardhana in control. And it was the 18th over where Turner was tossed the ball. Now Turner was also making his debut, and he was tossed the ball, And what Turner did is that he picked up 2 wickets pretty quickly. He first picked up a very important wicket, that of Asila Gunaratne, when he forced Asila Gunaratne to leave his crease and had him stumped by Payne, but not before Gunaratne had contributed a a match-winning 52 of 37 deliveries, 7 fours. Sriwardena was the next to go, probably a bit of a controversy, but he was given LBW ball. Turner for 15 of 11 balls, 1 4. So 2 maiden wickets for Turner. Took 2 wickets in his first over, which is good to see. And after that, the equation came down to 12 of 12 balls. And Ty was actually given the, Andy Ty was given the responsibility of bowling the final over with 6 runs required. And the thing was, Chamara Kapegadra was there along with Sekuge Prasanna. Sekuge Prasanna just hit 1 boundary, did not attempt anything rash, which was good to see. And they took the match till the final over. So definitely credit. As I said, the match could have was on tenterhooks. It could have gone either side. But Chamara Kapegadra, keeping his cool, waited, and then finally, when the equation came down with Ty actually bowling the final over, it was a matter. Ty was doing a good job, I thought, in the final over. Is keeping the ball up to the batsmen and not really giving them any liberties to actually swing their arms. But then finally, with the scores level, Aaron Finch brought everyone inside the ring, and then Kapegadra in the final delivery managed to squeeze the boundary. Managed to actually drag the ball for a 4 through the inner ring, and that really clinched the issue for Sri Lankans. But definitely a very good match, which Kapegadra not out 10 of 7 deliveries, 1 4. Prasanna was not on 8 of 9 balls, and Sri Lanka would be happy with this effort. 172 for 5. And even though this was a second string Australian team, as you know, but nevertheless, Sri Lanka taking the lead in the 3-match T20 series. Cummins 1 for 29. Stanlake was very costly, 3 overs for 42, so he would not like to remember his T20 debut. Faulkner 4 overs, none for 27. Bowl Ryle Ty did a fair job, 3 overs, none for 32. Zampa 2 for 26 did a fine job. And Turner also in the 18th over really put a sort of a spanner in the works of the Sri Lankans, but Sri Lankan managed to recover very quickly and see to it that they won the match. Turner 2 overs, 2 for 12. And Asila Gunaratne, who definitely is a find for Sri Lanka, one could say, was named player of the match. Well, dear fans, subscribers, I don't have much time to talk about anything else. It's about time for me to end this cricket show today by bidding you all a very good night.